Good evening. I'm Mark Josephson, co-founder of Tech for Democracy. So some housekeeping tonight. We are going to be recording this. We'll put up the recap at techfordemocracy.org and on our YouTube channel. Please say hello in the chat and where you're coming from. And if you have any questions, pop them into the Q&A panel, and we're going to do our best to answer and keep everybody involved and engaged tonight. If you're new, welcome. Tech for Democracy is intended to be a community of technologists, investors, and operators. And our thesis is simple. All policy now is tech policy, and most lawmakers can't write it, let alone read it and understand it. The loudest tech voices in politics right now are the oligarchs who do not share our values, and they do not speak for us. Quite frankly, the future is being written by the wrong people. So our mission at Tech for Democracy is to make change wherever we can. We activate people who share two things. You work in tech and you have democratic values, and that's democratic with a small d. We care about democracy and the rule of law, no exceptions. Free and fair elections, truth over propaganda, power that works for the people. If that's you, you belong here. Thank you. Welcome. And activation means something specific. We're going to be connecting people like you to the people and organizations that need exactly what you have and bring to the table. If you're like me, you're eager to do something, but unsure what exactly we can bring other than the obvious things. So there are 4 doors that we're trying to build and open for you at Tech for Democracy. The first is to run for office, any office, get in the game. Second is to work on a campaign. The third, build tools and infrastructure. And the fourth, advise lawmakers so that the laws that get written actually work and make sense. Every event we're going to do, every introduction we make is about getting you through one of those 4 doors. So tonight is a special event, a themed version of that mission. And the theme tonight is election integrity and disinformation. Election integrity has been hijacked, the phrase. We're talking about rigged machines, illegal votes that bounce off of satellites. All lies, but they're intentionally built to make you doubt the count so someone else can dispute that. It's happening today. And disinformation and the machines of disinformation are the delivery systems. And it's spreading now faster than ever, supercharged by AI, and it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Tonight, we start taking that back. Real election integrity is 3 things: secure infrastructure, protected voting rights, and leaders committed to democratic values. And tonight, you're going to hear how we fight the lies on all 3 fronts. Every speaker tonight works on one of those, and every one of them needs something this room has. We need your help, your expertise, your advice, your money. And that's the connection we're trying to make here tonight. We are 83 days away from the midterm elections. This is not about raising awareness. It's about getting shit done. And I know no better group of people to do that than my peers in the tech community. So the ask is to listen and look for your door tonight. And if none fits, there is a floor, which is show up, post, donate. And if one of us does it, it's a nice gesture. If everybody does it, it's going to be a force. I am delighted to welcome our first guest tonight. Our first speaker was Chief of Staff at NASA during the Obama administration, where he received the Distinguished Service Medal. And he was the CEO of Virgin Galactic before he joined Congress. He's the rare House member who actually understands the technology that he votes on. Exactly the kind of leader we need more of. Please welcome U.S. Representative George Whitesides, California 27. Congressman, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Mark, thank you for that kind introduction. I hope you can hear me okay. We're down in Los Angeles today. And look, I just wanted to say a huge thanks to everybody on the line tonight. Your work and your interest is so crucial to this election and to future elections as well. I consider myself a pro-technology person. As Mark said, I come out of the space community and was chief of staff for NASA during Obama. And that was such a great era where we had amazing people, who welcome technology and who are leaning forward and trying to bring the best of that into the federal government. And I yearn, as I'm sure many of you do, for that era when we had such great, competent people in Congress. Then spent a decade at Galactic working on spaceships in the Mojave Desert, and have also been doing a lot of stuff in wildfires. And the same kind of thing there, but a deep belief that technology can help solve some of these huge challenges. And of course, the Bay Area, New York, LA, many other places across the country are, bringing forward all of these terrific solutions. But the reality is that we're in a crisis now, folks, and part of it is a crisis of narrative where this idea that these small number of tech billionaires speak for the entire tech community. It's not true and it's not real, but that is certainly a huge issue. And that is combined with the misinformation that Mark was talking about sweeping across our country. I say to everyone, I think we're in an information war. And it's not just a two-party thing. It's external actors, it's different groups across the country, all interacting and vying for the attention and ultimately the votes of the citizens of America. Inside Congress, we have an equally critical situation where you have a large number of members who don't really understand a lot about the technologies that they're voting on, whether it's AI or space or crypto or whatever. And we need more voices who can help inform those conversations. We have fellows inside our office who are working to help improve my understanding. And we work with a large collection of folks outside of Congress to try to really understand the issues. I'm particularly interested in the idea of using technology to make Congress and the federal government work better. It is totally, you would not believe the stories that I could tell about how backwards some aspects of it are. But as we think about the next 2 years in particular, and we think about how the executive branch and the current occupant of the White House has tried to monopolize, action and agency within that group, I think about how in a world where we've taken the House back and hopefully even the Senate, we can use technologies to increase the scope and capability of the legislative branch to have more of an equal playing field between this vast organization controlled by the White House and this relatively small group of folks inside the legislative branch, whether it's oversight investigations or whether it's just state capacity, which I know many of you are probably very passionate about. I am too. How do we get to outcomes focused governance where we set real quantitative goals and achieve that, whether that's housing or energy production or energy transmission, education, healthcare, all these super crucial issues that are so important to how we view how we're going to benefit our fellow citizens. And so we need your voices. We need you to get engaged in whatever way is really speaks to you. And some folks here, they may be able to take some time and actually go into the federal government or go into Congress or go into some place that is going to make a big difference. Other people may want to get involved, as Mark said, in campaigns. Many campaigns are really behind the 8 ball when it comes to technology, whether it's cyber defense or it's using organizing tools that allow us to leverage these sites to reach more people, whether it's through communications or organizing or other things. At a really basic level, this community is full of people with a real sense of personal agency. And that's what I love about that technology community. It is people who say, okay, here's a thing, and I have the ability to change or improve that thing. And actually, that is a rare trait in our world. And so, most of all, what you have is that sense of actual agency, that you can make an impact on a problem. And whether that's, the elections this fall, or whether it's, the government in general, we need you to step up and to have that. And for some folks, it may be, even money. That's important. You have seen, the numbers this cycle, the sort of the mega billionaires are sort of 3-to-1 stacked against the Democrats this cycle. And so, there is huge amounts of money. We have to have campaign finance reform. That is a thing that is super important. And I hope that we can tackle, as we get more of the levers of power. I'll tell you just a tiny little bit about me. It's not really about me, and I never like to be about me, but I represent a district on the north side of LA County. It's up in primarily in the desert, so Lancaster, Palmdale. It's where we build a lot of our most important national security aircraft. It's where we flew to space with Virgin Galactic, and where we also shoot a lot of film and TV. It's a big district where we have a lot of people commuting down into LA, and every day I hear people, complaining about energy costs, and whether that's gas or whether that's electricity. All of the decisions that this White House seems to be following are ones that impair our long-term health as a country, and just whatever the issue is, you can almost guarantee that the current occupant of the White House is going to choose the thing that will not help America in the mid to long term. And that is very sad. But it is the truth. And, we just saw that with health stuff coming out of the White House over the last few days. We see it in the decimation of American science and research. We see it in really dumb energy policy constantly. And of course, we see it in this catastrophic war in the Middle East. But, we have to stay focused on what we can do. And so I would just encourage you to think about what you can do for this election, whether that's a local House race in your area, or local Senate race in your area. Even local down ballot candidates are very important as well. All of those things make a big difference. Many people will find their joy in helping the elections officials to conduct a good and fair and safe election. Of course, that's the way it's going to be. It must be. But we have to do everything we can to also make sure that our neighbors and our compatriots are people that believe in the sanctity of our elections. We have some amazing people on this call who will be speaking to you after I do, who are doing just incredible work. And there are a lot of different ways I think that you can plug into their efforts as well. If you'd like to reach out to our office, I'm sure Mark or Jesse can connect you with us. We really will be doing a lot of work to try to see how some of these technologies, whether it's AI or other things, can help expand the capacity of good work inside the federal government, presuming we can get past this election and the next one. The last thing I'll leave you with, and because it's the core, one of the things that drives me most about my work in Congress and why it's so important to take back the House this fall. Everybody knows what happened in 2020. The Republicans were trying to essentially disenfranchise the voters of Arizona, Pennsylvania, a few key states, and say, kick those votes out and potentially change the election. We controlled the House of Representatives then, and so it didn't work. I guarantee you that if they are able to take back the House of Representatives in 2028, then that is a huge risk. And so, your work is so important to the existential threat that we face right now at a national level across this country. But I know that the long arc of history bends towards justice. We will get through these things, but only because all of us are stepping up, doing everything we can to make sure our elections are free, fair, safe, and uncompromised by what's coming out of the White House, but also that we do the right stuff when we win, when we take back the House, when we take back the Senate, that we do good work for the American people, that we strengthen the institutions that have kept us safe and kept us in good shape for so long, and that we make it better, because I think the status quo of the last 20 to 40 years has not been working for large amounts of this country. And so, I look forward to doing that work with all of you. And I'm absolutely committed to doing something that supports a pro-innovation agenda that supports the great technology companies that we can be so proud of in this country, and also protects our democracy at the same time. So Mark and Jesse, everybody, thank you so much for what you have done to build this organization. It is so necessary. It is such an important counterbalance to what we see bouncing around across the country, and particularly in Silicon Valley these days. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to being a good, strong partner with you as you go forward.
Thank you so much, Congressman. I'll tell you, you call out you correctly call out innovation that comes out of our community, and our belief that we see something that we see the future and we create it. It's what we do for a living. And our mission at Tech for Democracy and everyone on this call is to get more people like you in seat and to continue to carry that good work forward. So I encourage everybody on the call to visit georgewhitesides.com/act and do something. Thank you so much, Congressman. Have a wonderful night.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for joining us. All right, that was pretty cool. I won't lie, but I have another really exciting and cool person to bring up. If you want real cred in the tech and progressive world, you're going to need to know our next set of guests. I'm going to welcome to the stage Jordan Haines. Jordan is the Chief Technology Officer at Run for Something. Jordan formerly was a co-founder and CTO of a writing coaching service, Prompt. And before that, he was the founder and tech lead for e-commerce app developer Colossal Solutions. Jordan is a board vice chair of Code Savvy, a nonprofit dedicated to reducing gender, race, and socioeconomic gaps in computer science. Hell yeah, Jordan, come on up. Great to have you.
Thanks for convening and having me here, Mark.
Thanks, Jordan. Great to see you. So many people on the call may have heard of Run for Something, and we're going to talk about CampSight tonight, but maybe just give us a thumbnail of Run for Something so we can all be on the same page to start.
Totally. So Run for Something recruits and supports young progressive candidates for local office. We were founded in 2017, actually on the day that Donald Trump was inaugurated. So if you thought that was only a bad day, something great happened. Run for Something, we have the largest pipeline in politics, about 275 folks that have raised their hand and say they want to run for office. We have endorsed about 4,500 candidates for office. The theory is like we're building the bench. We're supporting folks when they're running for local office. For example, we endorsed James Talarico back in 2018 when he was just running for state ledge. So we have a number of candidates that have risen up that bench in addition to the 4,500 that have like enacted change in their communities. And we are building our pipeline. We are now building tools, as we'll talk about, for the ecosystem at large and trying to find the right way to support candidates, especially at the bottom of the ballot.
Think you, Jordan. How local is local? Like, what is like the easiest thing to get into for someone who's maybe thinking about this?
I think, think about the office that actually can enact the change that you want to do in your community. So I think there's nothing that's too local. We've seen folks apply who are running for dog catcher, mosquito abatement board. There's some really small offices. Okay. I'd say a more typical office like school board, city council, mayor, state ledge.
Cool. Thank you. That's really important because sometimes it can feel daunting to jump right to a national campaign, though some of us may have megalomaniacal tendencies in our industry. I think the dog catcher might be a big enough leap. All right, thank you. So talking about election integrity, it's been hijacked by the right, frankly. Talking about voting machines and undocumented immigrants voting in mass. This group here, I think, is smart enough to see through that, but there are very real issues, and election integrity is under threat, and particularly as it relates to disinformation. Can you speak a little bit about that and maybe tie in some of the CampSight stuff and why you're doing it and what CampSight is?
Absolutely, yeah. So CampSight is what we call an AEO tool, answer engine optimization. So we are trying to track and improve what AI is saying about campaigns. We've also expanded the product to track and improve the AI narrative around issues more generally. So we have organizations using it from everything from like reproductive freedom to ballot initiatives on the issue side, and then campaigns from Senate down to school board. Nobody for dog catcher yet, but I think they would benefit from CampSight too. The general thesis is like, get a sense of what the AI narrative is about you and your race. Make sure that you are showing up in the AI narrative because voters are turning to chatbots to figure out who to vote for. We expect tens of millions of voters to be using ChatGPT alone to ask about their elections this year. And if you think about like those Google AI overviews that appear at the top of most Google searches now, folks, even like my grandparents who are never going to talk to ChatGPT are used to Googling their ballot, Googling candidates, and are now seeing AI authored answers when they do that. Google says that when people see those, they are half as likely to click a link or do another search. They're getting their information and leaving. And so getting a sense of what voters are actually seeing when they are researching candidates through AI, whether they know it or not, is really important.
How do you do that? How do you influence what shows up in those results or those narratives?
Yeah. So we thought that this was going to be a really hard thing. And there's some like really complex, detailed things you can do that are sort of like, the tail end of SEO and like tuning sources. But honestly, the things that we see campaigns have the most success with early on is what we thought would be table stakes. Things like setting up your Ballotpedia profile, making sure if you have a Wikipedia profile, there's lots of content there. Making sure that there are answers to the questions that voters are asking on your campaign website or in the news. We see a lot of campaigns that will say like, where's my New York Times op-ed and the AI answers? And it's like, well, that's paywalled. It's not accessible. So you need to have these answers on your website too. And when we go to your policy pages, they're super vague and hand wavy. And so, ChatGPT says you don't have a policy because you don't have a policy. So there's some early stuff we recommend for campaigns, and all this is automated within CampSight for them to get some of that information in places where LLMs can access it, will pick it up. We'll ideally see it as authoritative with like some of the news sources or Ballotpedia, and then insert that into the AI narrative.
So obviously crucial, but one of the things that we talked about when we were first met and we're talking was about the asymmetric nature of effort here and how I guess political with a lowercase p this is. So can you talk maybe a little bit about the fight we're up against here?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot more right-leaning content that appears in like the sources that LLMs are pulling from when they're doing their real-time search. And this is in part I think, symptom of us just sort of like losing the information war over the past few years, with there being all of these like right-wing webs, I call them like low information news sites. They like all publish the same story at the same time. And sometimes it's just total garbage. But that when there's consistent information out there, that can get picked up by the LLMs, particularly like further down the ballot when there's less authoritative sources for them to turn to. There's been some research that shows that there's as much as a like 10x disparity in the like number of right-leaning sources being referenced versus left-leaning sources. And one thing that we, aren't doing ourselves any favor of is there's some sites on the left that are like blocking AI crawlers and totally trying to, opt out of participating in AI, which I think that there are concerns and we need to talk about them. And if we want our information to be showing up in these places that are influencing voters directly and downstream when people are like writing news articles and using AI to help with that, and so the same biases appear there, we need to make sure that our information is accessible. And so part of what CampSight does is give tips to campaigns and these issue organizations on ways they can get that information in places the LLMs can.
So you have an audience here who is built and building all the things or types of things that you've done that you're doing. Talk to us about like the biggest problems you've got to solve right now for the success of your product, which is the success of our democracy, the success of our world, the success of our planet and universe. No pressure. What are the things that are on your plate now that you're wrestling with?
Yeah, we have to get these campaigns and these organizations into CampSight. There's some like onboarding effort that it takes to like show campaigns why this is important, to train up digital comm staffers and other folks on campaigns on how to actually like make these small updates to their website or make changes to existing tactics. A good example is like a lot of campaigns are investing heavily in creators and influencers to do, video content, amazing, excellent, important work. And there's some small things you need to do on top of those strategies to get those as sources in AI answers. And if you're not doing it, you're not going to show up in those AI answers as a source with those like video content. So
Jordan, you said we had to get these campaigns and these organizations into CampSight. That starts with go-to-market. What is the go-to-market plan? What is the go-to-market bottleneck?
Yeah, it's right now for us, it's staff to literally just like onboard them, take an hour or two to set up the initial set of like queries you need within CampSight to make sure that you're monitoring the right AI narrative. And so to this end, we are hiring for these roles, and we are also fundraising to hire more of these roles. We have a huge wait list. There's about 250 organizations on the CampSight wait list right now. There are campaigns, there are agencies, there are folks that support them. We are onboarding folks as best we can with those that are like ready to go. We were prioritizing organizations and campaigns that had like August primaries so that we could like get some data and help them differentiate themselves in the primary field. That has gone well over the past few weeks for the campaigns we've been working with. And now we're ready to step this up and make sure that we are really learning as much as possible this cycle so that we can iterate on CampSight next year and make sure it's really solid for 28.
That's great. So when it comes to your needs and the ask for this community night, I know that we're going to ask for volunteers and advisors and donors. But if you had a wish list, when you go look in your spreadsheet of open hires.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like we started this project, as I said, in this year in January, we started with some research last year, started building the product this year. We publicly launched it in June. So in that time, we've built up that wait list of, 350 orgs and have taken some off. Ultimately, what we need right now is some funding to close a gap. We started with a goal of raising $750,000. We have about a $250,000 gap on that goal for this year to make sure that we're able to sustain CampSight through the cycle. Second, we are looking for investors. We are taking some of this technology. We're exploring the right corporate vehicle to own it. We are looking to do a more traditional like VC raise on a seed round on a safe. If you are one of those people who likes to make impact investments and see your investments not just have a return, but implement tech for democracy, we would love to get that deck in front of you, or if you know people who might be interested, to pass that along. So that is the second ask. If you're not able to give directly right now, providing advice or connections on that raise would be helpful.
Great. So we have links up on the screen now. There's an ActBlue link for people who just want to donate and tax deduct. And we have, I think we have a link on the site, or you can reach out to Jordan directly at jordan@runforsomething.net or connect with us at T4D and we'll hook you up if you're interested in impact investing or supporting that. What's giving you hope right now, Jordan?
You know what's giving me hope is like I feel like this AI narrative war is one of the first opportunities we've had in a while to go on offense. I have not seen anything on the right that rivals what we are building with CampSight. There are some commercial AEO tools that no campaign I have encountered knows how to use, which is part of why we built CampSight to like fill this niche specifically for campaigns. And the campaigns that are using it have had great success. We've had some New York Times stories. There's one in Politico about some of the campaigns and how they've used CampSight. And it really, especially for campaigns sort of in the middle of the ballot, state-led, statewide office, we can really shift their AI narrative and make sure that voters are getting the right information on them while they're doing research with AI. So we are really hopeful that campaigns are able to implement tools like CampSight and make sure voters are seeing that information.
Us too. Now, I'll put you on the spot. Challenge us, Jordan. Give us a challenge here that we have to step up to support you in the work that you're doing.
Yeah, connect me to a impact investor, someone who might not think of themselves as someone who invests in politics or in political tech. There's not many people in political tech asking for more traditional VC money. We are doing it, and it is new, and we're trying to sort of like forge this path. I think Trestle has as well, and you'll hear from them in a minute, and they've done a great job with that. But we are trying to bring more folks in, both on the working on CampSight and funding CampSight side. So find some folks that we can connect with.
Great. We're on. We got you. The funding helps fund hires. So you're hiring people at market rates to do these jobs, correct?
Yes, we are.
So people on the call who want to onboard or want to build or want to dedicate their vocation to doing this too, they should get in touch with you as well.
They should get in touch. Yeah, we are looking for volunteers. If this is like right in your skill set and you're able to contribute like AEO strategy, we are looking for folks to advise campaigns. There is also that if you have this skill set and are ready to volunteer, the email address is in the chat is the best way to get in touch with me for that as well.
Great, fantastic, Jordan. Thank you for all your hard work. We got you, and keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Appreciate you. All right, from one killer tech leader to two killer tech leaders. We're going to be welcoming Xena and Zareena Meyn to the stage. Xena is a partner at Trestle, a designer and civic tech founder. She's got serious cred at leading teams of Propel, New America, Nava, and Code for America. Zareena, also killer, runs the partnership program and team at Trestle, and she previously served as executive director of MRelief and is an active member of Chicago Votes and Chicago Abortion Fund. Welcome, Xena and Zareena. Hi, guys.
Hey,
How are you?
Mark.
Great to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Can you give us a quick rundown of like who Trestle is, how it started, and what you guys do?
Yeah, for sure. I can start us off. And Mark, thanks so much for having us. Really excited to be here today. Okay, so Trestle background. Transport yourselves way back to February of 2020. The Democratic primaries in Iowa, to be exact. The first of many disasters to occur that year, unfortunately. The primaries used a new untested mobile app to power their election results, and that crashed midstream. So the party wasn't able to report the results that night. A winner wasn't reported. Trust in the party plummeted. The media and the right had a field day, jumping all over this. It was awful. And a couple of weeks later, the next primary caucus in Nevada was supposed to use the very same app, like weeks later. TLDR, there were no tech failures that day, thanks to technologists who mobilized really quickly and created a reliable alternative. So no news stories in that moment. And those are the same technologists who started Trestle. So Trestle is a nonprofit with the mission to ensure that tech is not a liability, but a tool to amplify our people-powered movements. And since we started in 2020, we've made great progress on the 3 strategies that we have to transform movement tech, which I'll tell you about. So 1, we make free and accessible tech expertise available at a moment's notice to our movements. And since our start, we've provided over $3.5 million in free and reduced cost tech help to more than 80 organizations in the movement. 2, we are focused on recruiting a new and diverse generation of technologists who are poised and ready to initiate into our movements. And Trestle right now is home to 150 senior designers, engineers, product managers, security specialists, you name it. And the third thing is that we are raising the standard for modern, effective, and resilient technology that lifts up our entire movement. So through that work, we've advised funders on tech investments. We've incubated innovative, exciting new tech, including a project with Run for Something. And we have scaled scrappy technology and tools for prime time use during the elections ever since 2020. So that's a bit of background, and we're excited to tell you about what we're going to do in 2026.
That's awesome. So I think about you when I talk about Trestle as like the bat phone for when bad shit happens, and bad stuff, it happens, and it happens a lot. And you opened my eyes to a lot as we were talking about it. Can you maybe share a bit of detail on like what the real threats are, what's actually happening today that we have to be prepared for?
Yes. I'll start by telling y'all what the real security threats are. Then I'll tell you a little bit about the new nonsense that might be coming down the pipe this year that we're all contending with. So first of all, making sure that the tech used by organizers and volunteers all over the country, making sure it's secure, strong, and resilient is always important. I'll give you an example of the unexpected crises and sometimes nation state level threats that we're always ambiently contending with every major cycle. So back in 2024, we and our many partners saw massive distributed denial of service attacks, or DDoS attacks, targeting 15 of the top tools and websites used to organize millions of voters during peak GeoTV weeks. This included the presidential campaign's website. And at its peak during these attacks, we saw nearly 1.2 million requests per second from over 150 different countries. We ultimately documented 54 unique attacks. And in spite of this massive scale, downtime was minimal. And GOT efforts, as far as we can tell over the country, were not slowed down. This is thanks to deploying engineers and security specialists from Trestle to our partners early to help the targeted tools and campaign teams monitor. We brokered some trusted partnerships to share threat intelligence and mitigated all of the known attacks.
Thank God you guys are here. What about this year and what's changing?
Yes, so on top of all of that, this year, we're also planning for and already responding to threats from our very own government. You know, I was born in an authoritarian country. My parents came here to live in a world where I wouldn't have to sit on a webinar and say that sentence out loud, but here we are. As we've all seen, this administration will do everything it can to hold on to power by eroding confidence in elections and undermining organizers. We expect to see 4 kinds of tactics. Some of these are already being deployed. Number 1 is spreading conspiracies and disinformation. Number 2 is coming after organizers or visible leaders with doxing, data breaches, state surveillance, and aggressive litigation. We saw that today with the former CFO of the Southern Poverty Law Center getting arraigned. Number 3 is deterring regular people from voting with scare tactics and threats of violence at the polls. And number 4, any place where margins appear to be tight, this administration is going to contest or claim a win.
Yeah. I wish I wasn't surprised by that. Or not, I'm not surprised by that. It's scary. But y'all are in the fight today, doing real work today. What are some of the real things you guys are working on to actually secure the elections today?
Great question. If we had infinite time, I could tell you about the many, many projects we're working on all over battleground states, but I picked out a select few that represent the different ways that Trestle works and the different tactics their movement is doing to counteract these threats.
Right.
So just to kind of ground us, we are 83 days out from Election Day. It's about 11 weeks. At this point, the main things that are happening are prepping for scale and making sure that processes, things, people stay safe and don't fall over. One example of that is we were talking about misinfo and disinfo earlier. We're working with a very cool group in Michigan that has built a tool that is using AI to track misinfo and disinfo narratives in that state and then plug into a team of trusted staff to figure out what to do in real time as they're tracking disinfo. And
so what kind of staff on Trestle is working on that? Because I want to paint the picture for the audience who is a broad range of skills and experience.
Yes, we have a senior engineering lead overseeing the project and another engineer working on it. It's of utmost importance after we saw Abdul El Sayed's victory recently that pretty sure the discourse is going to become nuclear levels of divisive and inflammatory. Yep. And in a nutshell, what this tool is doing is deploying swarms of AI agents to monitor social media posts focused in Michigan. Posts are getting analyzed and tagged and put in front of the organization's staff to figure out strategy for immediate action to respond to these narratives. And we're helping get the tool production ready. So we've been testing the platform to make sure it can handle hundreds of messages at a time over the next couple of weeks.
That's great. And I know you guys are doing something in Georgia.
Yes, the projects I'm going to share with you are going to span the spectrum of what I call fixing the basics, because there's so much basic infrastructural work and all the way to being at the bleeding edge, like where Jordan and Run for Something are with AI enabled stuff. So in Georgia, this is a little more about fixing the basics. We're working with about 25 frontline organizing groups. We're planning in-person organizing. So this is things like canvassing to get out the vote and deploying people to monitor polling locations for voter intimidation. And some of these frontline organizers are the only ones at the county level in this really important battleground state who are stepping up to do this in-person work. Some of these teams are very scrappy. They're one person running an organization and managing a number of volunteers. And everyone is, trying to prepare for a situation similar to what's already been happening with voting rights organizations in Ohio, where the state has been deploying FBI raids into their offices. So they've asked us to come in and both do security audits and shore up individual organizers and volunteers' security practices, as well as the organization's tech infrastructure to protect all of these people who are stepping up and making sure they stay safe.
Yeah, Xena, the problem is so big and so fundamental across the entire infrastructure. How do you prioritize and how do we get you 1,000 more people? How do you prioritize where to go and what to solve?
That's a great question. We rely on partly an advisory council of other leaders in the movement to weigh in on the potential impact of working on a project, the scale of what those organizers are doing, the importance of a particular campaign and geography. Right now we have like Zareena mentioned, an amazing network of senior technologists spanning designers, engineers, security specialists, product managers. There's over 150 of us. And with all these projects lined up, many of them are in flight. And often where we're blocked is especially on C4 funding to work on more partisan projects rapidly.
Got it. Would C3 funding help also, but C4, bigger checks?
Definitely won't say no to either kind. It would be a bad funding service.
Yeah.
But C4 is definitely much more flexible.
Understood. There was one or two other things that I know that really impressed me. One was around the election protection hotline. Like that seems talk about tell that story, because I thought that was really powerful. The Our Vote story, 866 Our Vote.
Yes, we've become hotline specialists. It's not what I expected, many years ago when I was a designer in Silicon Valley, to know that I'd be living in DC, working in politics, thinking about hotlines. But we've been so honored to work with the tens of thousands of volunteer lawyers and the staff that run the largest election protection hotline on the soft side every single cycle since 2020. You maybe seen the phone number 866 Our Vote floating around. So this is for any voter anywhere in the US. If they run into trouble at the polls, they can give that number a call, be connected to a lawyer who can talk them through what they do, what to do. And all of this data sits in a database that is used to proactively pursue litigation to make elections more fair and free in the future. And we've been working with them to upgrade a system that was built in roughly the 1990s and really needed some security patch-ups to keep all of that data from decades of election protection work safe and usable. And in every presidential cycle, the volume of calls reaches the hundreds of thousands. So we're also helping them load test and prepare for another big year.
Thank you. All the builders on the call are having some level of PTSD to big product launches and campaigns and things they have to get done when the only thing at stake is like Q4 numbers. And the work that you've got to do is so much more important than any of that. Let's get specific. How can we help? What's the ask? What can we do to support Trestle?
Yeah, I'll pass the mic over to Zareena.
Yes, thank you for asking, Mark. We have a couple asks for y'all tonight. We are really asking you to help us build back a more sane and just democracy by doing two things: joining us as a supporter, or joining us as an advisor, or a third thing. You can do both. We're a nonprofit. We're currently raising funds to complete all of the projects that Xena talked to you about today, not just those 3, but 25 that are in the pipeline for the election. So far, we've successfully raised about $500,000 to make sure that those projects get done. Today, we're fundraising another $150,000 by August 21st, which is 75 days out from Election Day, for a rapid response reserve, basically to make sure that we can act quickly and respond to threats and attacks to our organizers and tech, which always start to increase significantly in September. So we really want to be prepared for those. To start in September, you can donate to the link in the chat. As Xena mentioned, C4 funds are fantastic, very flexible, but we also can certainly use 501c3 funds as well. If you don't have capacity to donate today, you can bump our fundraising campaign on LinkedIn, which should also be in the chat, to your friends, family, supporters who might be interested.
We'll also share we'll reshare it from our profile as well. All of this.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. And then the third thing is we're always looking for fantastic tech talent, mission aligned, just like all of you on the call, and experts to join our advisory bench. So if you fill out the form in the chat, we will reach out to you and let you know about opportunities to be a tech mentor to movement leaders who need to level up their tech fluency. We'll reach out to you about fundraising campaigns and requests for advising on specific topics. So, for example, right now we are actually seeking help for a go-to-market strategy for the AI organizing tool that we're working on. So you can, fill out that form in the chat and we'll get in touch with you about all of those opportunities.
Amazing. Zareena and Xena, thank you so much for all the work you do and for sharing that with us tonight. Our commitment to you is that we're going to do best efforts, not commercially reasonable, but best efforts to get you some support to keep fighting the fight. That's what we're here to do. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
So there you go. Part of our commitment at Tech for Democracy is to start our meetings on time and end our meetings on time. I want to thank Congressman George Whitesides, Jordan Haines, Xena Nee, and Zareena Meyn. And thank you to my co-founders. Jamie Barnett did a tremendous amount of work on this. I can't thank her enough, who put a lot of time into putting this all together. Elizabeth behind the scenes, who's making sure that we sound good and look good and show up right. So tonight you heard the real definition of election integrity. We need to secure the infrastructure, protect the vote, and fight disinformation, and elect the right people. That's the work. And you just met people who are actually on the front lines doing that and fighting those fights. We need to support them. My ask of you and our ask of you is to pick one thing. Click one of those links, fill out a form, donate some money, raise your hand, fight the disinformation. We have to do it. For George, donate or volunteer at georgewhitesides.com/act. A strong ground game in California 27. It's a purple district. As awesome as he is, it's going to be a close race. We need to get him in office. And if you don't want to support him, find another purple that we can support. Okay. For Run for Something in CampSight, Jordan needs AEO expertise. If you're working at a tech company today, you're absolutely talking about this. Raise your hand. Volunteer or go full time. They're hiring. He needs advisors on the strategy and the pitch, and he needs investors to close the C4 gap and back the new business that they're trying to build. This is doing well by doing good. And for Trestle, they're raising only $150,000. If you're working in anything related to fundraising and venture in the space that a lot of us entrepreneurs have been in, that should be an easy ask. We should be able to help them pull that together in the next 9 days. Okay. We got to finish the projects that Xena walked us through. So if you can't give, and not everybody can, you absolutely can share and promote and share this with the community and your friends and family who care about the same things we do. These are the people who are doing the work. We need to support them. And for Tech for Democracy, this is our second event. We're trying, we're learning, we're going to keep getting better. 2 asks of you. 1, join us at our next event. We're going to have the date out in the next probably 24 hours, probably 1 month from tonight is our current thinking. And it's the best way to stay in this. And the best thing you can do tonight is bring 1 more person with you next time. Screw that, 5 more people with you next time. Second, so many of you have graciously raised your hands and offered to help volunteer with us to help us build this as this is getting going. And so as my co-founders and me, our immediate priority is to organize our volunteers so we can start to scale this. We have 83 days till the midterms, and I don't want to look back saying could have done more. So if you haven't, go to techfordemocracy.org, hit the Get Involved button, and tell us where you want to plug in. You want to help us get members? You want to help us manage the members? Social media, speaker recruiting. Maybe you're really great at tech and want to set up our email system or our CRM. How about hosting local events? Raise your hand. We will call on you. Everything we need is in this room, and we can do it. I will tell you, I'm incredibly energized by being with you here tonight. I believe the future is bright if we get to work. In my career in tech, I have seen people set big, hairy, audacious goals that seem like they're impossible and then knock them down. No industry does this better than the one that we're in. The future is not being written by the right people. You just spent an hour with the right ones. So let's pick your door and let's get going. Good night. Thank you so much.